Welcome everybody to another episode of the Arseholics. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Mize. I hope you're doing well. Niro, Raj, Arunan, how's it going?
Good. Relieved.
Very good.
Good. So a nice straightforward win tonight against Benfica, through to the next round.
Never in doubt.
Niro thought we drew, didn't he? Don't tell us about that, Niro.
We got through, mate. That's all that counts.
So, we are through somehow. Arsenal 3, Benfica 2, through 4-3 on aggregate. Before we get into the match, then we'll quickly touch on the team lineup. Probably the expected team, I think. Main changes, well, from the first leg. Tierney coming back in at left back. And I think that was pretty much it. And Partey on the bench. Welcome return for him. Any quick thoughts on the team lineup before we get into the match, guys?
I don't know if we think it was the expected lineup. Are we basically saying now that we think that Gabriel and Luiz are the starting centre backs for us?
Good question.
Very good question.
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I wonder if even Arteta knows, to be honest. I like Holding. Luiz is David Luiz. I think Gabriel is good, but he's often a bit rash, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't.
What, more so than David Luiz?
David Luiz, I think, like Arteta likes because he's like the old man in the team. He's very experienced, and 9 times out of 10, he's pretty solid. The problem you get with David Luiz is that other one time it's an absolute disaster, right?
They both play between the lines quite well. I think they progress the ball well. I wonder if that's what he really likes about them. But the reason why I posed the question is that that's the actual bit of the team selection that I found interesting because, Man City, he switched them out completely and he just basically went back to the centre backs that he played in the first leg. So it just indicated fair enough. Holding, as we spoke about even before the podcast, Holding had the concussion point. So maybe he would have played if it wasn't for that, maybe actually. So yeah, I guess time will still tell, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of
Mari as well. He's throw him in there as well, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say it's a bit of a weird feeling having, 4 centre backs who are actually reasonably okay. And I'm not used to that because, if Holding came in, if Marie played, I wouldn't have been too annoyed by any of those 4 playing because I think they're all okay.
Yeah. Is it more? Do you think it's more because of the players, or is that more indicative that we play a system now, which is good defensively and therefore doesn't rely so much on the individual quality of centre backs?
Both, I think. If put Mustafi and Kolasinac, I know Kolasinac on centre back, but put them in this back 4, and I think we revert back to old ways, right? So it's not just the fact that we're protecting our centre backs more. It's just that, I felt Kolasinac and Mustafi were just so much worse than everyone else, and now we have 4 relatively competent centre backs. David Luiz is still going to be David Luiz, but he's all right.
Do you reckon he's trying to find? Obviously, we talk about individuals here, but obviously, the most important thing is to find that right partnership. And do you think he thinks maybe David Luiz and Gabriel might work better together, and then obviously tried Holding and Mari together on the weekend? So I'm not sure what he's going after. Is it a left or right foot option, or he's just trying to, rather than individuals, just get that partnership.
I think now, I think just going back to Raj's question, for me, I think it's clear the first choice pairing is Luiz and Gabriel. And I think that's demonstrated by who he played on Sunday against City. So, okay. Like I said, not really any other unexpected changes. Went with the same front 4. So the 3 creative players behind Aubameyang again. So obviously, very, very eventful game. I think we're all just starting to get over what happened, really. First half then. So story of the first half for me was we seemed to control it pretty well, kind of similar to the first leg, really. Seemed to have most of the ball, and quite nice that we actually capitalised on our performance, really, with the first goal. Arunan, so it was a really, really nice goal from Aubameyang. Do you want to just talk me through it?
Yeah, Saka with a beauty of a pass. I think he must have taken out 3 players in terms of like just getting the pass through to Oba, and then just being a really nice finish. And I was pleasantly surprised Oba took it first time, because he has a history of sometimes messing up these chances, and thankfully it was 1-1 for him, and that was good. And then I thought we'd go on from there and start to dominate.
It's interesting because I think that although against Villa and against City we conceded really early in those games, I do think the increasing impression I get from watching how Arteta sets us up is like he really doesn't want to sacrifice defensive stability at the beginning. Like it's so, unfortunately for us, it's still if we've got the memories of the Wenger days, where we could start games at 100 miles an hour. I don't think we quite get that ever under Arteta, right? It always seems like he's doing a little bit of just making sure the ball's moving around, making sure everyone knows what their job is, and tries to get control of the game. But I think what was nice is when we scored the goal, it felt like it came at a time where if it had gone on for a little bit longer, we probably would have all been feeling a bit like, well, is there actually a proper attacking plan in place? But yeah, it was a moment of quality, wasn't it? As you touched on, Arunan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good because I think Saka started out kind of drifting out quite wide and trying to go down that kind of right-hand channel, and it didn't seem to work. I think they doubled up on him a few times, and then that one time he came inside. I think that bit of movement was really nice from him, and he's just such an intelligent player. And he's not only intelligent, he also has the quality to deliver a pass like that. And then he put it on a plate for Oba, and he just had to finish it.
And I think other thing I noticed about the goal, and I think from Aubameyang's performance throughout the game, really was the timing of his runs seemed to be a little bit better. He was caught offside, and he was, the goal was extremely tight. It was one of those when it went to VAR, we were thinking, oh God, are they going to draw a line here and find his sleeve is slightly ahead of the defenders, whatever. I don't, but I noticed that, the timing of his runs, and there were a couple of times when he got through. So it was a really good time to score, I think. Like I said, capitalized on dominating the first half up until that point. I think in terms of the rest of the first half, I remember there being a Benfica chance of a Tongan header that went over, but it was a decent chance, I think, because I wouldn't say he was left alone by Luiz, but I don't think Luiz did a great job on actually challenging him. And we were pretty comfortable. Then I think just before half time, or before they scored anyway, Saka had that chance that ended up being offside actually, but he went through and the keeper made a really good save. And then from our corner, I think the keeper gets it, hits it long, and Niro, Ceballos, and that error. What were your thoughts when that happened?
Yeah, I saw that in the half-time analysis there, mate.
So we talk about the second. Is that we talk about the second goal? This is the first.
We do first goal, right?
We talk about first goal for the penalty.
Oh,
The free kick.
apologies. Yeah, I'm getting.
Raj, share your opinion on that one, Raj.
Right, sorry. Yeah,
I'll talk second half. I'll let you guys talk first half.
I'm really wondering whether we all watched the same game. Completely
I
different
told you it
recollections.
was a draw game, mate.
So guys, the process of hosting is getting to me. No, apologies. Yeah, I meant the free kick. Yeah, so Ceballos stretching for a tackle that, to be honest, I don't think he was ever really going to get. It reminded me a bit of a Xhaka tackle, to be honest, on the edge of the box. He seems to do that quite a lot. So yeah, I think it was about 42nd minute. So again, just kind of awful timing really in terms of when, at that point I was watching it thinking, okay, we look good. We still need to get another goal just in case they score and they get that away goal. But we looked, fairly comfortable and in control. And it was just a case of seeing it out until half time. And obviously we weren't able to do that. And gave away the free kick. And even then, to be honest, I wasn't overly concerned. But then again, we don't know who their danger men are from set pieces. And an absolutely unreal free kick for them to equalise. And then we're all kind of head in hands going into first half thinking, oh no, this is going to be one of those nights. I think, Raj, you put it perfectly just as they scored. This is going to be a long night.
Yeah, I think it was deja vu as well, right? Because it just felt to me like the Wolves game where we're completely in control, and then right before half time, it's just like, oh no. And then when you go into half time and something happens like that, then the dynamics shift completely, don't they? Like your whole half time. No, it's a football manager kind of quote type thing, right? But like your halftime team talk goes out the window completely, doesn't it? It's just like it's so frustrating. Look, I think with the Ceballos thing, it's interesting because it's clearly a positioning error on his part. Like it's one of those things where he couldn't have just let him go past because then the guy's directly running into the box. So he almost has to stick his leg out. But he's obviously going to give the foul. And so I think that comes down to maybe a player like Partey is a bit smarter about where they're positioned and then they don't have to make the foul in that way. I can't remember which one of you just said it before, but it felt like, it was like something that Xhaka seemed to do quite regularly in his Arsenal career. It's those kind of fouls. And you kind of hope, it always feels like as an Arsenal fan, and maybe all fans feel this way about their own clubs, it always feels like we get punished, for those types of things. And it just felt so frustrating going into halftime. And, given that we were so in control and given they offered nothing, like you mentioned, Misa Vertonghen header or whatever, but they offered nothing apart from that. And, similarly to the first leg where they really offered nothing apart from the penalty incident, right? So, it felt like it was going to be one of those days.
Yeah. We can say this now, right? It was an unbelievable free kick.
It was.
Like if one of our players scored that, we'd watch it and be waxing lyrical about it, like time and time again. It was hit really nicely and straight into the corner, and it was pretty much unsavable. But we can say that now because we're through and we can relax, right? But I think the annoying thing is, like you were saying, it became 1-1, but with the context of the away goals rule, which I absolutely hate the away goals rules.
Ridiculous.
It changes the whole dynamic of the tie, right? Because at 1-1, if they get a second goal, we're likely to basically be in big trouble, right? Because we then need to score another 2. Whereas 1-1, it's just the way that I think away goals rule is probably great for the neutral, but we've been screwed over by it so many times. I absolutely detest it. That one goal can just completely change a whole tie and the dynamic of a whole tie. It can also kill off games completely and make them unwinnable. So it changed the dynamic. It wasn't good, and we came out in the second half with a lot to do.
It's even more ridiculous when you're both playing neutral venues. Like they could have amended that rule for this year, or just had one leg playoffs. Like it doesn't make sense that we're playing home, we're playing both legs in a neutral venue, and we would have got penalised for it.
Completely agree.
And I totally agree with I think the away goal rule is ridiculous. Sort of the home team is a bit also the away. I guess in a way, sort of the away team is sort of attacking more now to get I don't know if that was the intention of it, for the away team to attack more, try and get their goal. Because now it's sort of a 0-0 in a tough European game at home is not necessarily a bad result because you haven't conceded, isn't it? So it's it's sort of changed the complete dynamics of two-legged sort of mentality of how two-legged games are played, I think.
Yeah, the initial intention doesn't. Things have changed so much. Like initially, it was because home teams had such unbelievable favouring from referees back in the day, and it created an environment where away teams just defended the whole game.
Yeah, that still holds at Old Trafford, mate.
Yeah, I mean they just did, and then they brought the rule in and it tried to create more attacking football. But now with the introduction of just televised football for full stop, I suppose, but also just scrutiny, you don't get that kind of wholesale bias, right? And so it's just you don't get that problem where you get those weaker teams just parking the bus away from home. I think it's completely redundant. But as you say, Niro, I think the point is, even if you can argue for a value about it, when you're playing at neutral grounds, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because then the advantage basically goes to the team who are playing away in the second leg.
Yeah.
Because if it still counts in extra time, well, that's just unfair, isn't it?
Yeah. And if anything, we should have had the advantage secondly, because I think we came top of the league. I think they came second. So we should have had the advantage, but it felt like they had the advantage.
Exactly.
Especially if they scored in extra time. I think we discussed it before. If extra time goal then would have been, if it was 1-1 at full time and then it was 2-2 after extra time, then we would have got penalised for that as well.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. So it's unfair advantage.
Unfair advantage,
completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope we've got that right, and I hope the rule isn't actually.
I did check it.
Oh, you did. Well done.
Yeah.
Well researched.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so
What did you think of the second half, Mize? You tell us.
Second half, yeah. Well, so obviously, yeah, like Aaron has said, we had a lot of work to do in a bit of a precarious position, really, because concede that second away goal, and it's a big job, and that is basically what happened. I thought that Benfica came out second half with a lot more intent, and they were a lot stronger than we'd seen them in the tie up until that point. And I was a little bit worried. And I think they made some really early subs in the second half as well. So it kind of showed again, their intent of what they were trying to do. But yeah, the way that they scored, and I can laugh about it now, but I was not laughing at the time. So our corner, get this one right now. Our corner.
You were just so desperate to talk about it, weren't you?
I'm still really annoyed about it, but luckily it doesn't matter now. But our corner, I think it goes straight into the keeper's hands. I think it was an Odegaard corner. I can't remember, but keeper gets it, hits it long, and obviously Ceballos, being the man kind of on the edge of the box, is the one tracking back. Not really sure what he's thinking, to us. And they said this on BT Sport as well. They pause it at the point when he looks over to the Benfica attacker running alongside him. So he knows he's there, and yet he still thinks it's a good idea to try and flick it back from, I don't know how far he is, 35, 40 yards out from goal. He's not like heading is his strong suit, or, one of his skills that we would associate with Ceballos. So just to, oh God. And Raj, you made a great point though, in terms of what happened after that with Leno and his decision making in terms of what he decided to do as a Benfica player goes past him.
Yeah, that's probably going to be Leno's most important decision of this whole season. It's probably the most pivotal decision any Arsenal player has made this whole season. We can't underestimate that. Him deciding that, no, I'm going to let the player go and score was so important. Because imagine that's a split-second moment in thinking it's better for us to be a goal down and have to score two more. We can do that with 11 players on the pitch. And if he had got sent up, that's such an Arsenal thing to happen as well, isn't it? Someone makes a mistake, someone else gets sent off, and it's like, and then the game's dead. Exactly. So it was just so nice for that not to happen, and for us to, come back in this way that we haven't seen Arsenal do in so long, like just come back in a really crucial game, which fine, we probably should have won anyway, but just kind of, it just felt like that this hasn't happened in a long time. And so, but to go back to your point on Ceballos, like, look, when I saw it, I thought, all right, benefit of the doubt, maybe even though he saw the player, maybe his intention was actually to head it to the defender who was on the other side of him. Yeah, but he didn't, did he? He didn't. You see it. There's no way.
The question is, why is he playing in that position though? Why is he the most backward midfielder?
Because the centre backs have gone up right for the corner. So he's the guy on the edge of the box with probably Bellerin as the other guy.
Where was Xhaka at that point? You'd expected him to be a bit more ahead of
Xhaka. Not like I wouldn't want Xhaka in that position either.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I guess the point is though, Niro, isn't it? It's like even if you're a donkey, like who's playing there, right?
You're right.
Like,
if you look around and you see someone running behind you, you don't
head it towards them, right?
But but think about Leno. I think it's maybe it's obviously lessons learned from the Wolves game. You never know if that split second thing was in his head, or if that Wolves thing never happened, against all hypothetical, then he might have made the mistake now. So I think it's good in a way that he's learned from his mistake straight away. And, he came out with his sort of hands behind his back. I think that was very important. That was Leno's 100th appearance for us.
Yes.
Good on him.
Yeah,
there was some stats.
He's done very well.
Very few Arsenal keepers have actually won on their 100th appearance or something.
Oh, really?
There's like a really weird thing.
Yeah.
So Myers has given a score update in the chat. What's the update from the Leicester game?
Are we doing this on here? Yeah, they're 2-0 down now.
Oh, yeah.
He's got it on in the background. So, yeah, it's a bit of a surprise result. Okay, so coming back to Arsenal anyway. So, at that point, for me, knowing that we need to score 2 goals, I had absolutely no confidence, to be honest. We've not scored goals all season. We've not come back when we've gone down in games. We've not been able to, claw draws back. The number of games we've lost 1-0 this season, I'm talking about the whole season in general, across the Premier League games as well. we've been really, really bad. And yeah, I just didn't have any faith that we were going to do anything. And then you see the subs that Arteta made. So he's obviously kind of emergency sub with Partey coming on, and I think he just wanted to hook Ceballos after that mistake. Maybe his head's
I think
gone.
that was a very good move.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the only thing I was worried about was how fit is Partey to throw him in. Yeah, but okay, it worked out, and Willian as well. And I think when Willian came on, we were all thinking, well, where's Lacazette, where's Pepe, where's Martinelli? Maybe, you know, the guys that are gonna probably be the ones to get more likely to get you something like a goal or create something than William. But to be fair, leading up to, or just as we scored within, I think it was six minutes after they scored, a few minutes after William comes on. I thought William did pretty well when he came on. He showed a lot of energy. He was getting himself into good positions. He was getting himself on the ball quite a lot. So quite pleasantly surprised. And obviously it was him that sets up a really, really good goal from Kieran Tierney. And I think the thing that stood out for me, it was Tierney that scored that goal, where it's almost like, look, we need to do something here. We're going out. And he's the guy that stepped up and pretty much almost created it for himself, really, didn't he? Arunan, thoughts on
it was
Tierney
the
goal?
biggest, like, screw you guys, I'm just going to do this myself kind of goal I've
Yeah.
ever seen in a while.
That's what
Like, he got the ball and he was just like, I'm going to get into a position. I don't care who or where anyone else is. I'm going to get into a position and then I'm going to smash it as hard as I can into the corner. And yeah, like, luckily none of their defenders managed to get a block on it. I think the defender furthest back was actually pretty close, but he leant forward and it just snapped past him. But yeah, like, it's what you want to see, right? Someone taking control of the situation and delivering. And, you know, you saw his reaction afterwards. It was very much, right, still in this, let's get back to it. And I do wonder that goal came at such an important time, especially knowing the types of performances we've had where we've really struggled to break down teams who sit back against us. That goal just meant that they knew that they had a 1-goal lead to protect, and 1 goal would send them out. Whereas if they had that 2-goal cushion for a little while longer, you know, I suspect we would have lost motivation and probably kind of limped our way to a defeat.
Interesting in that analysis by Arunan there, he didn't mention Willian once.
I mean, look, he got
I think he gets the harsh. He does get treated harshly. I think by
fairly this season.
I think I was going to say. I think up until this point.
No, I think fair, if you still look in terms of in the Premiership for Arsenal, he's created the most clear-cut chances for us, and he's in the league.
Sorry, what?
Arsenal in the league, he's created the most clear-cut chances, and for Arsenal, he's the second most assister behind Smith Rowe.
That can't be true.
No.
Check it out. Check it
What
out.
about
In
Saka?
the league.
So,
second most highest chances created.
For Arsenal, the first clear-cut chances created, and he's second on the list of assists for Arsenal.
but you know, with the just be clear, the
He probably got
assist,
like 3 in the first game, to be honest.
so that is it. So he has 3 assists from the first game.
I think he's got 4 assists. I think.
I don't think so, mate.
He does create.
I mean,
the thing is, he gets, and that's what I do prefer. And again, we've always had this argument about Pepe and Willian. It's just like even like today, for example, when he does come on and against Man United, he does bring the energy with him. Like, his end product sometimes isn't there. Maybe it's a confidence thing, but you see the energy. He's chasing the balls. He's trying hard. But when I see Pepe, sometimes he's just like, his body language sometimes just pisses me off.
So, but Niro, just so a question. So obviously, I appreciate you saying this now about Willian. Obviously, we've come out having gone through, but when he came on,
we did speak about it. I did talk about him. Was it on the first episode when I did say, you know, he was one of the best players of Project Restart, and you're not going to turn bad overnight. It's just confidence with him, who will sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I was going to ask you was, in terms of that sub that Arteta made, Partey coming on, and him, did you not feel like there were other players on the bench that you would have you personally would have preferred?
I personally, I thought initially, Lacazette, but it wasn't like, I thought, look, obviously Lacazette's your striker, right? So it makes sense to bring him on, and obviously I was a bit confused why I took Smith Rowe off. So yeah, granted for that, but
yeah. I was going to say Smith Rowe, I mean, he tends to come off 65 minutes every game. So it must be a fitness thing, or I don't know, you know.
But I was glad he came on ahead of Pepe, for example. But I would have preferred, at the time I would say, Lacazette would have made more sense as another striker.
Why were you, just out of interest, why were you happier Willian came on ahead of Pepe, considering Pepe's form? Okay, he hasn't played in the last couple of games really, or he hasn't played at all. But prior to that, when he was starting and playing games, he was probably, okay, maybe not our most dangerous player, but definitely one of, and he was actually producing goals and assists as well. So just interested to know your
he had a couple of he had a couple of good performances. Again, when he was playing on the left wing, and he was creating. But I don't know, like I just feel like when I see his body language, when a game like today where he sort of needed players to step up and give the energy and sort of chase the game, I just thought Willian probably is that kind of. He's a match winner. Like he's won it all with Chelsea. I just felt like he's the one that could sort of, or more than Pepe anyway, that could sort of show the energy and sort of try and make something happen, which he did. Whereas I feel with Pepe is like, again, it's always like body language is poor, head down. And I think coming into like a losing situation, I just don't feel that, in my opinion, that Pepe would have been the right person for that.
What do you guys think Arteta sees in Willian? Like, this is a serious question, right? Because
so I think
the assists and the clear card chance creation, mate. That's what it is.
Firstly, Niro. Willian has 3 assists in the Premier League, not 4. So I've just debunked your fake news.
No, but where is he?
Yeah, you're right. You're completely right. You're completely right. He's second.
Yeah. He's second.
So
clear cut chances. Yeah.
I don't know. You might be right. I guess my point is. My point is that's so he played well in one match, which has carried basically his whole season, right?
Yeah, I mean this is a situation where
mate,
it depends on how you use those stats, right?
No, but he still creates chances. I remember that game I can't remember which game it was now. We're like quite a few times he does bomb it down and does
Chelsea, mate. Honestly, I'm struggling with this.
Do you know what the main reason I'm struggling? Actually, it's because he hasn't played that much.
What's Pepe's stats though, in comparison?
I can't.
So,
I think he was highest in. Sorry, go on.
What I think it is that there's a bunch of players who have 2 assists. Basically, right? There's like Bellerin, Saka, Xhaka, Lacazette, like who have got like 2 assists. Whereas, do you know what I mean? Like, there's loads of players.
I think the overall point of that is that for Arsenal to sort of get to the next level, we need to start having more players who start sort of creating more chances. I think that's just the general. The fact is, you're right. If Willian, who's not really hardly we've seen, and if he's number 2 on that list, then there's something fundamentally wrong with us.
That's completely right.
I think that's the overall message.
So my question was actually a serious one in that, like, this is our biggest game of the season, right? So far, we've just gone down, and within seconds, Arteta brings on Willian, where like he obviously sees something in him above Pepe, above Martinelli, above Lacazette.
Well,
what do you think it is?
So here's my take on it. When he brought him on, I think you have to credit the manager because as well as bringing him on, you could see there was some kind of tactical switch that happened alongside bringing him on in what we did. Because remember at that moment in time, all they've got to do is not concede 2 goals, right? So they're firmly in control here. But when we made those subs, all of a sudden, we actually looked probably more dangerous than we had for a long time. We were actually getting behind these channels, getting space in that kind of top left quadrant, which Willian was seemingly getting a lot of time in. So partly credit to Willian, but I think it was part of a tactical plan. So maybe as part of that plan, there's something about Willian that seemed to mean that he was the right person to be able to do that. Maybe Pepe wouldn't have been able to execute that. I think Martinelli, there's a big conversation about Martinelli. I read a very, very interesting article about, our management of his injury in a good way. But look, I think what I will sort of agree with some of Niro's sentiment is Willian's having a really terrible patch in his career in this season that he's had with us in theory, right? He's not he'd look himself in the mirror and say, I've not done what I've been expected to do, and I've not performed at the level that I should be performing at. But there is a player who is supremely experienced and has done so much in his career and can give us lots of good things if he gets back to anything like he was. So, in some ways, I think we do need to get that back. And if this is him showing signs of getting that back, then that's absolutely fine by me. But I guess, Aaron, maybe this still doesn't answer your question as to what is it they bring. So maybe it is a bit of experience.
It's experience, big game experience, isn't it? Yeah. So Martinelli's young, inexperienced. I think,
Yeah,
I said,
Willian does bring that.
go
to
on,
the
go on,
table.
Aaron. Sorry.
I wasn't a fan of any of the subs, to be honest. I didn't think, well, bringing Partey on, I think made sense because I think that was probably more out of anger with Ceballos than anything else. But I thought when Willian came on, yeah, he had those five minutes where he was good, but generally, like after that, he didn't really do much. I thought Lacazette was pretty terrible when he came on as well. Moving Saka back into the essentially right back for the last 15 minutes of the game. Yeah, it came off because he eventually managed to get down the right side, but there was no need to move him back. Like, we're just very lucky, I think, that he managed to push up for that point in time. So I still think Arteta's probably got a bit of work to do to really figure out this all-out attack Arsenal, that when we are chasing games. It came off today, I think, but I don't think the subs helped him.
But again, with the subs, like, he was very, and I know I've talked about it last episode, it's very slow with the subs. Even like Benfica, they made the first change. So they were the ones who were trying to mix things up a bit more. Arteta only made the sub as a reaction to conceding that goal. So, if we'd conceded a bit later, I don't think he would have made the sub until we had conceded, basically. So it's back to that in-game management. He needs to take the game more to, like, should have taken the game more to them rather than Benfica taking it to us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, I was going to. Yeah,
go on. No, you go.
No, I was just going to just on the point that Niro made about the subs. I completely get where you're coming from. I feel like, though, across both legs, apart from maybe a period in that second half when we first came out, we were pretty dominant. So it's almost like, to counter what you're saying, Niro, I don't feel there was that much need to try and change anything. Like, okay, we weren't creating chance after chance and really taking the game to them, which I agree, but I think that's more down to that lack of cutting edge in the final third, which we've just seen throughout this season. But I think generally we pretty much dominated the game. As Raj put it, Benfica offered very, very little. And the way, if you think about the 3 goals that we conceded, they were all, kind of joke goals from our perspective, really. So, yeah. Okay, Raj, sorry, what were you going to say? You were laughing because...
I checked the chances created stat.
We're not going to let this go, are you?
No, I'm genuinely intrigued. And you're not wrong. Nero's not wrong in the sense that the website, I think, that is showing that stat is the PremierLeague.com. But to put it into context, Emil Smith-Rowe has 4 assists, right? But his big chances created are 2.
Right. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it doesn't. So I'm not really sure how this works. Yeah.
I use a website with over, was it 8 million?
But no, you're right. On that website, Willian has the most big chances created with 5.
But fair point. Like, what is clear cut, right? I know it's different, going way off topic here, but an assist could be I'll pass someone who then does a lot of work. I think clear cut is like literally laying it on the. I don't know. Yeah,
it's very weird. Like, again, because I think stats like that are so silly because because it's hard to. Again, this says Bukayo Saka's created 2 chances
to wind up Arunan, mate. So I'm gonna find as many Willian stats as I can.
I want him to come good. I want him to do well. Like, anyway, I want him to start smashing them in. But
I think we all do.
Yeah. For me, it's any Arsenal player that sort of gives it 100%. Even like Ceballos today, like he made 2 mistakes, but I'm not gonna. You can see when he does play, he celebrates goals. You know how he still plays with passion. Same as Xhaka as well, man. Like, I got no problem with Xhaka. I know everyone goes up and down with him, but he's passionate. So for me, if any Arsenal player that actually gives it 100%, whether they pull it off or not, I'm not gonna start hating on them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the issues that I have with players now, as opposed to I think the team maybe 6 to 12 months ago, is I think everyone at least wants to be there on the pitch. I think we did have players in the past. I'm not going to name names, but they had weird contract situations. They weren't fully engaged with what Arteta was trying to do, and it was clear that they weren't going to be here beyond 6 months. Here, I know Ceballos is on loan, but my issues I have, the issues I have with players like Ceballos, Xhaka, Willian is, unfortunately, I just don't think they're that good. More than. I don't dislike them. I just don't think they're top quality.
I think that I really felt that when we played City. I thought that really hit it home for me. I think at the end of the day, when you're looking at top players, it's consistency. You know, it's like, because I like, you know, what Niro said is that there's times where Ceballos, he looks really good and he does some pretty good things. There are times where he really does look like he can give us something as a midfield player that we don't really have. But you need to do that every game to be a top player. And that's what is really missing from us versus sort of a lot of the teams that we are trying to get towards. I mean, you see Liverpool now as a great example, right? Who had 2 seasons of just consistently like firing, everyone's firing. And those players, a lot of them just look ordinary now because they're just not doing it on a game by game basis. It's all about consistency but I agree, Aaron, and I think there's a number of our players that unfortunately, I think as fans, what we do is we hang on to really good and really bad moments. So I think we remember sometimes like the really good things that some of our players do. Like, he's capable of this, he's capable of that, he's great, he's a great player, and he does something, what a goal, and all the rest of it. But you know what? The table doesn't lie. Trophies don't lie. You know, all that stuff doesn't lie. You know, there's other people doing things better than us. And I think fundamentally what it comes down to is habits, consistency, behaviors, to be honest. And maybe we just need some players who are going to be able to do that at the level required.
Sure. Okay, and then in terms
you sounded really bored there, mate. That was the most insulting reaction. Like, so out of order. Really?
Guys,
you just said that our team is shit, mate. That's basically what you said. The table don't lie. We don't win anything. Mate, we want the FA Cup here, mate. So check your facts, mate.
this episode's got a bit funny today, hasn't it? Okay. No, sorry, Roger. It wasn't that. I was just trying to make sure that we cover everything in the time that we have. That's all it is. Because obviously it was a really eventful game. So in terms of how the game ended, for me it looked like we were going to end up going out on away goals, even though we weren't playing at home. Which would have been ridiculous, to be honest, if that had happened. But 3 minutes to go, I think it was. Saka gets the ball wide, couple of step overs, and gets the ball onto his left, looks up, and again, Aubameyang perfectly timing the run at the back post. I think it was against Vertonghen, I can't remember now, but which would be quite nice if it was. And just the ball from Saka, just perfect ball, delivers in a key moment when we needed it the most. And I mean, we've been talking, I think every episode we've done, we've talked about Saka in some positive way. Like, the boy does not seem to ever put in a bad performance. And you were talking, Raj, about, so I was listening, you were talking about, top play, to be a top player, you should be doing that week in, week out. And probably he is maybe the only, I don't know, maybe the only one. You might say Tierney, but I'd say Saka for sure. I've never seen anything less than at least a 7 out of 10 from him, which is unbelievable, all things considered. You know, he's one of the youngest players in the team, and you almost just forget his age because of, and we've talked about it, right? His maturity, decision-making, his vision for the first goal, you know, the ability for the second goal, just fantastic. Niro, any thoughts on the goal? What were your reactions with that one?
Again, with VAR, I couldn't. Brilliant cross, good header, clear-cut opportunity, a clear-cut creation there. It was just, I couldn't celebrate because I wasn't sure if it was. I think initial thoughts, I thought it was offside. To be honest, I thought it was offside. Initial thoughts. So very relieved it was given at the end. And then, mate, it was euphoria after that. So even then, no, I was really happy. But even knowing Arsenal, I wasn't like confident I wasn't assured that we'd definitely gone through. I still had a feeling, we could have a moment of madness, and we almost did, didn't we?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just before we get on to that, it was nice that it was Aubameyang who scored after what happened last season against Olympiacos. So, and I think you mentioned, I think the interviewer, Reshmin Chowdhury, I think it was on BT Sport. So it was Aubameyang that came out after the game to talk to media. And I think that was the first thing she said. She said, a year ago, you missed a chance at a critical time at the end of the game, and today you were able to score it. So yeah, it was, for me, that was really, really nice that he was the one who's put us through.
And after
And
all the first leg as well, so it was good, just redemption.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he turned up for us, didn't he? Big time.
Yeah,
So
because he even scored that goal that was given offside with a great finish.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it was a
That
proper.
looked very close as well.
I agree with you, man. You know what? That's debatable. I reckon if they gave the goal, I don't know if they would have ruled it out.
I thought it was quite. Was it not quite clearly offside?
It was not offside.
No, was it
It was marginal. Yeah.
Was it? Okay, I can't.
That'd have been interesting. A hat trick of goals all going to VAR. That would have been a first, probably.
Yeah, but I think it was just such an Ober performance in that way because we know it's his movement that is so good, right? Getting into those great positions, and I think even that final goal. Okay, if he misses that final chance, it looks like a horrible miss. But you've got to time that run. You know, you've got to be in that place, and he's so good at that, and that's what we need to get him back doing consistently, which it looks like he's starting to do, which is great for us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
I've realized, I think, obviously we've all known that Oba was very good at doing those late runs into the box or, the timing the runs to perfection. But I think the one thing I've realized recently is, how bad Oba is at everything else. In that, like, his hold-up play isn't very good. He's not very good with his back to goal. His passing isn't great. So I think the key to success here is just accepting what Oba is. And that is, he is, an elite striker who gets goals because he gets a lot of chances because of his movement, because of his positioning. And we need to play to his strengths. Making him play as, dropping deep, making him do things that he's not suited doing has never worked and it's never going to change. So we should just use him and play him to his strengths.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Okay. So somehow managed to get that goal and looks like we're going through. Still had added time to play. There was another, I think just after we scored, there was another double substitution. So Chambers, who we haven't seen in, I can't remember when. I joke he hasn't played in a decade, but obviously I was being a bit.
It looks a bit like Ben Stokes with his new facial hair. I thought. Hey, it's got like a new little.
I thought that was it was a bit of a throwback to like Wenger. I thought in the way that like I haven't seen Arteta like panic and be like, we need to protect this lead at all costs. I'm just going to bring on like defenders and defensive players like that, just like with 2 minutes left. And it was quite funny, I thought, because, Chambers, like you said, hasn't played. Elneny is fine, but I just wonder what Chambers was thinking.
Oh, God, I was really worried, but he had to make a couple of clearances, didn't he? I think
he was all right.
A couple of headers and he looked fine, but it was a bit worrying that was his first appearance in God knows how long. And I think it was the 3rd minute of injury time. They hit the post, but it was offside in the end, thank God. But that was a bit of a heart in mouth moment, wasn't it? But we managed to see it through. So crazy game really. But a lot of character shown from the team, I think. And especially the way that we ended up going 2-1 down to that mistake or with that mistake, to come back, I think really, really good character and quite impressed from that perspective.
I think what worried me a lot was I kind of started making peace with the fact that we were going out towards the end of it. And then I kind of thought, but then I kind of thought all these things started coming into my head right after it. And I was like, hang on, then what the hell are we going to do for the rest of the season? Like, what's the point? And then it was
what are we going to talk about?
what was that? But then I started thinking about, well, it's not even about next year then, is it? Because like next season, we're not playing in any European competition. And we talked about this as being kind of a longer term rebuild job. Who are we going to sign? Who's going to want to come? What money is there going to be to sign players? Like, does the whole rebuild therefore get completely affected by this? Like, and so I'm actually, my lingering worry is still that now, where I'm thinking like at the end of the day, on the basis of this performance, okay, great, we went through on that. On the basis of this performance, unless we improve in a lot of aspects, we're not going to win the damn thing, are we?
No,
like
chance. We
have to improve. And if we don't win the damn thing, unless hopefully, like we discussed it, in other podcasts, like if we don't finish in that top 6, where there's a chance that we won't finish in the top 6, what does that mean for us next season? So that's slightly concerning, whatever the case, I think.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about it a bit more another time. But from my opinion, is not being in Europe for next season, is that such a bad thing? Like, I remember when Chelsea had that disastrous season and then they weren't in Europe the following season as a result. I think they came 10th, and they concentrated the league, had playing one game a week, every player fit. And they actually, I can't remember if they won the league or they did really well. And I think I said, with Arsenal's squad, the rebuilding, maybe having that 1 year of not being in Europe and just that Thursday, Sunday balance is not good for us or not good for most teams. It's just having that concentrating 1 week to prepare for a game, Arteta, fresh legs. One season of that, I wouldn't mind it, mate, to be honest, just to see how much of a positive impact that would have on our league performance. And I think
there's definitely positives, as you mentioned, the ones that you mentioned. I think that the on the flip side of that is the finances element and how key Europa League income is to our finances. And again, like you said, this is a separate conversation. And yeah, as Raj touched on as well, it's, European football and attracting players. Okay, no one really wants to play in the Europa League, but at least it's a sign that the next step from there is the Champions League in terms of where you're finishing in the league. If you're finishing 10th and getting knocked out in the first knockout round of the Europa League, what does that say for, if this was us trying to sign Kieran Tierney, for example, I don't see why he'd want to come, that, do you kind of see what I'm saying in terms of we're falling that far that we're not even qualifying for the Europa League as well. It does make it a bit harder to attract players. I think it does make it a bit harder to retain the players that we want to retain as well. If you're like Saka, for example, and we talked about, if ever there comes a time where we're still in the same position or potentially worse, and someone comes knocking with a lot of money for Saka in a few years, it's a big decision to be made, and there's a good chance that we might not be able to keep hold of him. He might want to go, and I think we need to. I completely agree. I will get the pros that you've mentioned, but then at the same time, from a player's perspective, it does. I think players do want to at least know that if they're signing for us, that okay, we're kind of on the way up as opposed to regressing.
Yeah, but I didn't mean this as a long-term thing. It's more a one season just try it out, and then what the quality of players you attract for Europa League? Like, it's not.
I actually just think it's a money thing, to be honest. Because I agree with Niro, though. I agree with the fact that not having that extra game might be helpful in a rebuild.
For that one season rebuild, yeah.
I agree with you.
But you use the Chelsea example, but I mean, can we really compare ourselves to what Chelsea can do? So this is the thing, right? I think I remember the season you're referring to, but I'm sure if you look at the squad and the players at Chelsea, or the squad that Chelsea had and the players that they brought in, despite not having European football, it was probably still a really, really, really good bunch of players.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we would be able to compete with that, And I think also if you talk about the Premier League, I don't know how long ago that was. You're probably talking maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. Maybe you look at the Premier League now. And how much more competitive it is when you're talking. Before it was a traditional top 4, then it's become the top 6, and now it's the top. I don't know. It's like the top 9 or 10 really, if you include ourselves in that. It's so much more competitive. You look at the race for top 4 this season. You've got West Ham, Leicester, etc.
Yes, yeah.
So do you know what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying? As in, I think
I'm just trying to think. Sometimes it's my point is like sometimes good to take one step back to then take 2 steps forward in the future. We've been saying this for the last 3-4 years now, haven't we? Since we've dropped out of Champions League football, we thought, okay, fine, we can balance both. But I just don't think our squad's cut out to balance.
I think the advantage, to be honest, I don't see any of the players that we have now handing a transfer request if we didn't qualify for the Europa League. So I think that's a big positive. I actually don't think we'd lose anyone. So in that respect, Niro, like, let's just say if we didn't sign anyone also, then maybe it's not the end of the world, because I don't think we'd lose anyone. But that being said, it is still, we automatically lose Ceballos and Odegaard, don't we? Unless we can figure out
a way of keeping them.
Exactly.
Okay. It's an interesting conversation, I guess. To see maybe a conversation we might have to have come the end of the season, or maybe even the next round, depending on how things go. Hopefully not, but yeah, let's see. Well, I think we've discussed the game in a lot of detail. So we're through to the next round. The draw for the next round is tomorrow, I believe.
Midday, 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay. I was just having a quick look at the odds. I think they've been updated since the later kickoffs have finished. So really surprised to see, and I'm not sure if these are completely accurate, but really surprised to see that we are third favourites. So United favourites and Spurs, then us, and then it's Villarreal, Ajax, Roma, AC Milan, and it goes on.
You have to be quite crazy to put money on Spurs to win a trophy, right? Like generally, right? Like I know odds, and they're obviously a decent game, but just like who bets on with confidence that Spurs are going to win a trophy?
I don't think they're confident. Like, for the Carling Cup final or the League Cup final coming up, like they've already created like mugs for saying cup finalists. Yeah. So like, imagine us get cup finalists. So they don't believe they're going to win the thing. So.
Yeah, let's joke about it before, just in case. Before anything happens, right?
Yeah.
Get them in now.
So we don't know, I guess. I mean, I don't know, to be honest, depending on who we get, how it's going to work with the venues for these games. I guess depending on the country that the club that we get is from, it could mean that we have a repeat of playing at neutral grounds again. Obviously, we get an English team, then that's not the case. Any teams that we really want to avoid, guys? I think there's some obvious ones in there, but and Leicester are out, by the way. They've been knocked out.
They've been knocked out. Yeah, I don't know if what the new lockdown COVID rules are. I don't know if that wouldn't come into play for next round, will it? Or is that too early for that?
What do you mean in a more positive way?
In a more positive way, in terms of like obviously of the announcements that were done earlier this week. Does all that mean maybe we can play home games at home?
Yeah, I mean it's not that far away. It's like I think in a week or two.
It's like 2 weeks. Well, obviously, if we get an English team, we'll be playing home and away as normal, right? Because we're doing that in the league, can't we? So
I thought so.
Well, we're playing them. We're playing away and home in the league, so of course we'll.
Yeah.
I think we've got Spurs in between the two games as well. So potentially, if we get Spurs in the Europa League, we'll play them 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I would want to avoid the English teams for now. I think
that's it. I'd say the same thing.
Avoid English teams.
There's not any other names on there that really worry me, but I mean, I guess we probably looked at the Benfica time.
Well, AC Milan having a good season.
AC Milan,
they are. They're quite far out. 10-1. 10-1. Yeah, 10-1.
Ajax and Roma again. I wouldn't fancy playing them.
I mean, looking at the bottom, Molde, Dinamo Zagreb, Dinamo Kiev.
Rangers will be a nice game.
Rangers will be fun. I'd like that. That'd be good.
They scored about 9 goals across 2 legs against whoever they played. So
apparently, I don't know. Okay. I'll check my stats again now, but you've now got me. But I don't think they've lost home and domestically and in Europe this season.
So they haven't. So you said they haven't lost a game.
They haven't lost a game this season. Yeah.
Wow.
So that'll be a tough.
Wow. So they're completely undefeated in the SPL. Wow, that's
They've
cool.
got a crazy lead, I think. Yeah. So that'll be a tough game.
Yeah. I mean, let's see who we get. I guess
I would like Rangers. I would like Rangers.
I actually would like that too, actually.
Because it's not an English team and it's not much of a travel if you just go to Scotland and back.
Yeah.
Unless we have to play at stupid other venues, though, right?
It's all Britain, isn't it? So hopefully that will just mean I don't know.
That's true. Good point. Good point. Good point.
All right, guys, we'll see who we get tomorrow. We've also got Leicester on Sunday, and we'll be previewing that in a separate episode to be released in a couple of days. So thank you guys for joining us. Good result, and we'll see who we get in the draw tomorrow. Cheers, boys.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.